Alright guys, tonight I am going to be talking about some production techniques that are used in house. So we're going to start with sidechain compression. Sidechain compression is used in a lot of electronic dance music, a lot of dance music in general, and in fact a lot of pop, a lot of stuff that you'll hear in the top 40 has a lot of sidechain elements incorporated. So what it's all about is that you have, say, a synth line and a kick drum. So it could be anything from, say, Call on Me to Miami to Ibiza. It's where the kick drum triggers a compressor to compress the audio by a certain rate. So whatever the threshold is that you've set, that's what it's all about. So it can be quite extreme compression or it can be mild compression. The degree of that all depends on the producer themselves, what they're doing, how they're writing the track, the effect that they're trying to achieve. It could be, in fact, it is actually used in some rock music as well. So you'll find that the kick drum and the bass line clash quite a bit. So to allow for a bit of headroom for the kick drum, just for that impact, very mild sidechain compression will be used just to sort of alleviate the pressure from the speakers. That's the first element. The second element I'm going to talk about is gating. Um, Gators are used in a very specific way. You gate things. Well, it's okay. Gating is the wrong way to put it. It's more of, say, like a filter sweep. So filter sweeps are used a lot, especially in well, with something like white noise. So white noise in a track is almost quite key to a lot of effects that are trying to be achieved. So using white noise just as a plain sort of entity in itself, not in conjunction with anything else, can be side chained, um, and usually is enhanced by a filter sweep. So it's just another effect that goes into house. It's difficult for me to explain. I'll tell you this now. It's very difficult for me to explain all the elements that I put into my music and all the elements that I've heard. I mean, reading about this stuff and implementing it are two very different things. But you listen to music and you play music and you can hear all these elements being put in, and structurally it all works really well. Talking about structure, I mentioned in one of my previous videos about the introduction of a track, basically just having a kick drum and some sort of percussion. So syncopation kind of takes away from that simple four to the floor hard hitting kick. It adds another element to everything that's going on from the listener's point of view. It just makes the track a little more exciting to listen to and to play. So the main aim of it, I guess, is to add another element to music. It's kind of like putting strings into a track or putting piano into a track. It's another element in that sort of way. Why it's used, I genuinely could not tell you. Um, I don't think anyone could tell you really. It's a feeling. So if it's something like a deep house track, which is quite simple, there may not be a lot of other elements besides some basic drums, a bass line, and a couple of synths, and possibly some vocals. The structure of a track is very much intro, vocal introduction, a build up, and then it just hits with a chorus. So the chorus may have vocals or it may not. That's just the way a lot of music goes. If the track feels quite empty, then yeah, there'll probably be, you know, something else, another element thrown in. Say like the white noise. If a track sounds quite empty, if there's not really much going on in the high frequency register, anything from sort of 1K upwards, then the producer might put in some white noise or they might put in a vocal just to break the tension and alleviate some of the stigma that comes with a lot of bassy music. So if it's really bassy, it's kind of suited more to, I don't know, venues where the crowd is slightly older. Anywhere between sort of 18 and 25, it's really nice to hear something, say for example like Show Me Love, which is really vocally based, but still has a lot of syncopated rhythms going on in there as well. Um, the outro of house tracks, a lot of people have asked me about. So when I'm producing my tracks, there's a definite intro and a definite outro. And that's pretty much just for DJs. I know how irritating it is to just go into a vocal, unless it's meant to be for that specific reason, that it just makes an impact. But just for simplicity's sake, it's nice to have that introduction where you've just got a kick, because you can mix it into whatever you're doing, and it makes the transition between two tracks very smooth. It doesn't mean to say that every mix has to be perfect, but it's nice to have some form of continuity to what you're doing. Um, Apart from that, it's more about the music, really. So chord structures are very important in house music. Uh, Something like Resurrection by Michael Calfan, the Axwell edit. It's very synth based, and you can tell that there's a lot of musical knowledge that's gone into producing that track, just because of the complicated chord sequences, the chord structures, and the contrast between the high end register and the low end register. Um, it just depends on how you feel. If the track suits something really simple, then it suits something really simple. Dutch house is very simple. Funky house uses a lot of sampling, and the house genre in general, you're using a lot of synthesizers. Pianos are quite widely used. Bass lines vary from very subby to having a lot of character. Having, say, for example, I don't know, a sawtooth or a square wave uh, in there as well. It depends on what you're writing and what the track is. Visiting Beatport as much as I do, you kind of get a sense that house is advancing and progressing in a way that it never really has before. So you had, say, the minimal stage of music where everything was very basic. But now you've got to a state where DJs are playing, one specific genre of music. So you'll have DJs who play funky house, and that's pretty much all they play. You have DJs, especially in America, who just play Dutch house, um, and you have DJs who kind of play a cross between funky and minimal. Um, Personally, I like to throw in anything from funky house to Dutch, just because it gives you a bit of freedom in the way that you're working, and you're not really tied down to anything that you're doing. And it's more about the way that you build a crowd up and the way that you let them down, and it's a constant roller coaster ride. DJing shouldn't be as simple as I'm going to play one track and I'm going to play another track after it. There are a lot of creative processes that go on in the meantime, like killing the bass, for example, on a mixer. If there's a refrain or an accent that you want to pick up on, or just for effect, you could just kill the bass, or you could go for a filter sweep, or you could throw a gator in there, or if you're using Traktor, you could use the beat masher, or in Serato, just along the same sort of lines, you could put it into slip mode and do a loop roll, that kind of thing. Um, but it's all about freedom and expression, and making music feel like everyone's a part of it, so everyone can feel the music just as much as you can. Um, for any of you who play musical instruments and are watching this, it's difficult to pinpoint where the line is drawn between musicians and producers. Because if you produce, you have to know something about what you're writing. Even if it's very basic knowledge, someone like myself, I write a bass line or I write a drum line and I find something that matches it. Whereas if you're writing music for, say, a guitar, you can roughly imagine what the bass player is going to be playing. You can figure out that bass line, whether they're using root notes, whether they're playing fifths or sevenths above you, whatever, below you, and what the drums could be playing. But it's difficult to pinpoint that place where everything just gels. You know, where all the elements come together, and it's more of a feeling of euphoria, for lack of a better word, than anything else. Um, that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go with this one. I will see you guys in the next video.